Hello, SYBC students. In the physics paper 1, that is oscillation waves and sound, we are discussing a sub part of chapter number 4, that is wave motion. One of the very important part of this chapter is that we have to understand the science of seismic waves. Seismic waves means the waves which are generated in the earthquake. Whenever such type of earthquake occurs on the surface of earth, any part of the earth, either under the sea or on the land mass or land surface, there ought to be certain types of waves are generated, may be called as P waves, S waves, surface waves, low waves, etc. These waves are to be understood, their measurements, their impact, etc. are to be studied, and this is the science which is called as science of the seismic waves. So in connection to the other waves what we have seen earlier, these waves are also have same differential equation to be followed, as well as it also has certain properties, intensity measurement, then parameters and other types, impacts, etc. All these things can be seen here in this particular second session on this chapter 4, that is seismic wave. In that concern, this particular science of the study of the seismic waves is called as seismology. Let's see what these particular things mean to us. So seismology is a scientific study of earthquakes and its propagation of elastic waves through the earth. So such type of elastic waves are generated. These waves propagate in different directions with different velocities and different properties. So entire study of that is called as seismology. It includes the study of origin, so where this type of waves are originated, their geographical distribution over the surface of earth, where these particular waves are being distributed, its effects and possible predictions of earthquakes. So all this a complicated study that requires that involves many aspects of about this earthquake and the waves that are generated in these earthquakes. The field also includes studies of earthquakes, environmental effects such as tsunamis, as well as diverse seismic sources such as volcanic, tectonic, oceanic, atmospheric, and artificial processes such as explosion. Now this very nice diagram I have shown here in this particular slide, which shows that was the tsunami that was generated on the 26th July 2004, and this particular tsunami it was started from near to Andaman Nicobar, so it near to Indonesia, and whatever water waves that are generated, how these waves traveled across east coast and western coast of India and in the entire Hindi Mahasagar, that has been shown by this particular nice simulation there. So some waves are reflected, some waves are seen to be causing a direct interaction with the seashore in Sri Lanka and some other countries. So this is one very interesting picture that is now that particular comes in the that shows this is what one of the aspect of the study of this seismology. Apart from that, there are several other aspects are there too. So what seismologists do? Seismologists not only study the earthquakes as they happen, but also try to create models to predict when and where earthquakes might occur. So they study the internal structure of the earth wherever it is possible, and based upon that they predict and they model such type of earthquakes. So this is what pre-warning. They also study the effects of earthquake like seismic waves and tsunamis. So this is what a study of this seismologist. So as shown in the figure, tsunamis are the massive ocean waves caused by an undersea earthquake. So whenever earthquake happens under the sea, whatever waves generated there, these waves cause this type of waves coming on this on the seashore. You will see here in the first diagram. So such type of undulation or disturbance created in the deep sea water, whenever this disturbances reaches to the surface of the earth or the seashore, the height of that particular waves becomes larger and larger, and that causes a huge destruction as shown in this second slide, second diagram here. Okay, this is again these are not the real pictures, these are the simulations that are generated through using the computers. But this particular things makes us clear what this tsunamis is. So tsunamis are massive oceanic waves caused by an undersea earthquake, and they can be quite destructive to the coastal communities, as we have seen in this particular type of tsunami which occurred in India in 2004. So that caused a great havoc and destruction across all the coastal area, and some of you might have heard about this earlier. So tsunami is again a effect of undersea earthquake that is usually seen on the surface of the earth at various locations. Now, what is the device that measures or that records the earth motion as a function of time? This is called as the seismograph. These are the few figures that are showing you. Simplest seismograph has been shown. A ball that has been attached there to some support, and beneath that there is one ink pointer, and there is a strip that is moving under a constant speed. Whenever earthquake occurs, this particular strip or this entire apparatus moves in such a way that it can point the motion of that particular earth surface, such that something can be predicted from that particular pattern we have generated. These are the two more diagrams shown on the left side, which shown actually whenever seismograph works, these are the types of waves that are generated, or these are the types of patterns that are generated on the this particular type of paper, and against time. So as time moves ahead and ahead, the paper goes ahead, and these type of patterns or graphs are generated there. So here P waves, S waves, etc. are there. The down figure that is shown to be a modern or ultra modern type of this type of seismographs, which usually has this type of drum shaped attached to that, and over that this type of particular waves are recorded, and studying these waves, their amplitudes, their durations, etc., one can go for different study of different aspects of this earthquake. So there is a device which is called as seismograph. Nowadays different types of electronic seismographs too available, so that is not our point of study in this case. Then before we go for this actual study of this earthquakes, we must study the internal structure of the earth. Already in geography you might have studied this particular structure of the earth. So in introduction to earth is divided into numerous cells. So this particular actual earth is divided in numerous cells, each with different physical and chemical properties. So if we differentiate the layers based on chemical variations, we lump the layers into, see the different parts. First one is called as crust. It is the outermost area or outermost part of this earth. Mantle, it is beneath that crust, that is found to be a mantle, which is shown in this orange color there. Below that there is an outer core, which is shown in the color which is yellow, and beneath that there is an inner core, which is exactly at the center of the radius, and that is shown by this white area. So to construct a model of Earth's interior, we use variety of geographical observations. So that is the part of geologists. They study all these things, and based upon that their analysis or their study, these are the four parts that have been seen here. So in this particular diagram, some more concepts are also involved, but that will be come to again in the next diagram. So this is one more diagram which is not to the scale, that shows you from the earth surface. Okay, so when we are sitting on the earth surface, from there to almost 100 kilometers below, whatever exists on the earth surface, this is called as crust, or that is also called as lithosphere, which consists of crust and the uppermost solid mantle. So part of mantle and crust comes there, but the crust has usual thickness is almost from 0 to 100 kilometers. You can imagine below the seashores or below the sea, into deep interior sea, the width of the crust is little less, whereas wherever there are certain mountains or certain high areas, land areas, in that case this crust may have some more thickness there, but on an average it is found to be 0 to 100 kilometers as a thickness. Below that there is a atmosphere, then there is a mantle. So this mantle goes from almost from 100 kilometers below up to 2900 kilometers. Almost 3000 kilometers is the area, and that is the bigger part of the earth is occupied by this mantle, which has again several different types of layers. Below that mantle there is an outer core, and that goes from 2900 kilometers up to 5100 kilometers. Of course All these are approximate numbers we have been given. Depending upon location and the part of the earth, these particular numbers may vary, but not much. And this outer core is in the liquid form, and below that, from 5100 kilometers to 6378 kilometers, that is the actual radius of the earth, average radius of the earth. So this is called as an inner core, which is strictly it's a solid surface, solid part of this particular earth. So this inner and outer core forms an core. Then there is a mantle. Most of the area volume of the earth is occupied by that, and above that there is a crust which is floating over this mountain, this mantle. That is an idea that has been taken by this. So let's see something about crust. So where we are living, the oceans are there, all landmass is there, all mountains are there, etc. That is the crust. This is where we live. So the crust area where we are living, it is very thin as compared to other layers. So few thousand kilometers and 100 kilometers you can imagine. A layer of rocks that forms the earth's outer skin, including the rock under ocean. So rocks under ocean and the rocks that are found on the mountains, that comes in the same, that is crust. The thickness varies depending upon topography of the earth, with oceanic crust being 5 to 10 kilometers only, and continental mountain ranges being up to 30 to 45 kilometers thick. And when we go for the regions like Himalayas, all that, this particular thickness of the crust reaches almost up to 100 kilometers. Earth crust floats on top of the soft plastic like mantle below. So below that there is a plastic fluid. Mantle is in the fluid form, plastic form. About a dozen chemical elements, minerals or rocks types is all that it takes to describe approximately 99% of the crust. So that distribution also given. The most common chemical elements found in the crust are oxygen, almost 46.6%, so very huge. Silicon is 27.7%, aluminum is 8.1%, iron is little less as compared to aluminum, it is 5%, calcium is 3.6%, potassium is 2.8%, sodium is 2.6%, and magnesium is 2.1%. So almost 99% part of this crust is made up of these different types of elements and their compounds and their salts and lot many things. So that is one, it's a composition. So why composition is important and we are discussing here, because depending upon these compositions, different types of waves travel with different velocities, and that's why earthquake felt by one location may not be same as earthquake experienced by the other location, depending upon the distribution of these different types of elements and their compounds beneath in the crust. So in that concern, there is one very nice theory in geography that is called as plate tectonics. So the plate tectonics is the theory that Earth's outer shell is divided into several plates that are gliding, that are sliding or gliding over the mantle, and whenever such plates come in contact or go away from each other, there is found to be a development of certain faults or certain cracks, and all these things results into the earthquakes. So plates act like hard and rigid shells compared to the earth mantle. So density wise as well as its thickness or as its composition, it is little bit different than mantle. This strong outer layer is called as lithosphere, which includes the crust and outer part of the mantle. Below the lithosphere is the asthenosphere, which is malleable or partly malleable, allowing the lithosphere to move around. So that is the actual structure of the earth. There are 9 such major plates that are assumed there according to the World Atlas, and these plates are named after the landforms found over them. So for example, Indian plate, then Eurasian plate, European plate, Pacific plate, etc. These are the names given to them depending upon different locations. Most of it is located under the ocean. So most of the part of these plates is found to be under the ocean, and it is moving northwest at a speed of around 7 centimeters per year. So try to imagine 7 centimeters means half of your pen per year. Almost each and every continent is moving only 7 centimeters per year. But remember, after thousands of years, millions of years, crores of years, this distance is found to be much more, maybe few kilometers, few thousand kilometers and so on. And thereby this relative motion or the motion between all these such plates which is going continuously towards northeast direction, that is causing this type of earthquakes at several different types of location. So the largest plate shown in this particular diagram, that is called as Pacific plate. Okay, so Eurasian plate, then Arabian plate, Indian plate, etc. These are the different plates shown there. These plates are okay wherever these are the boundaries are there. At these boundaries, such type of pressure is built, and in that particular case, rocks are that rocks gets tilted, rocks gets pressurized, and sometimes there is a breaking and a large amount of energy generated. And such is an energy generated inside this earth crust. That energy comes on the surface in the form of earthquake, and that gets radiated from that particular surface point to other areas, and that causes an earthquake. So this movement of these particular types of tectonic plates and earthquakes, that has a clear-cut relation that can be seen from this particular diagram. Then this is what one another diagram that shows you. This is one showed a subducting plate, and there is one locked interface between. There is one upper plate. Volcano is also shown. Ash cloud, that whenever such volcano becomes active, so several types of minerals as well as ash comes out. Very hot part of that comes out. That becomes a volcano. Landslide is shown always there, and there is a seashore is also shown. Deep sea is also shown. So whenever these two types of intraplate plates and this goes up and down, so in such a cases, such type of earthquake is generated. And if this earthquake is generated deep inside the sea, then whatever energy generated in that particular case, that energy is given to this water or ocean in there, and whatever waves or disturbance generated there, these disturbances travel towards this seashore, and we call them to be tsunami. Okay, so plate tectonics causes the relative motion of plates. That tectonics causes following things: sometimes earthquake, volcanism is also a part of this plate tectonics. Sometimes new mountains are built. Okay, not very frequently, but after few lakhs year, few thousands year, maybe few crores year, new such mountains are being generated. You might have heard about this Himalaya. Himalaya is one such mountain which was generated. It is thought almost 50 crore years that this Eurasian plate and Indian plate, these two plates are coming in contact, and that's why Himalaya was generated or established, built around 50 crores years. Mid-oceanic range, sometimes in the seas, oceans, these type of mid-oceanic range are found to be existing there, and at some locations there are oceanic trench. There are deep trenches are there where this earth crust becomes very thinner. So such trenches, such mid-oceanic ranges, some new mountains are generated, volcanisms, earthquake, etc. These are the actual effects of this plate tectonics. So much about these things you might have already learned in this geography, so we are not repeating all these things here. So now let's come to this other part. What is the seismic waves? Seismic waves are the waves of energy that travel through the earth's layer. Seismic waves are the result of earthquakes, volcanic eruption, magma movement, large landslides, and large man-made explosions too. So for example, if some country undergoes or takes some huge explosion of the nuclear weapons, so in that cases certain types of waves are generated. That is also counted as an earthquake waves. Seismic waves have very low frequency acoustic energy. So these are the actually acoustic energies, so acoustic waves, and they have a very low frequency. So frequency of human sound maybe in few kilohertz. So acoustic waves or this type of earthquake waves have very low sound frequency, but these are essentially acoustic waves. Many other natural and anthropogenic sources create low amplitude waves, commonly referred to as ambient vibrations. The propagation of velocity of the wave depends on the elasticity and density of the medium. So at what location such waves are generated, and at that location what type of the rocks are there, what types of material is present there, liquid, solid, etc. Based upon that and their composition, etc., different materials have different types of properties, and that gives rise to a different types of earthquake waves depending upon the topography and its region and so on. The velocity tends to increase with increase in the density. So whenever a hard rock is there, its density is higher. In that region, velocity is found to be more. As we move deeper in the earth, velocity is going to increase. So because density goes on increasing, so as we go inside earth, This earthquake wave generated, they may have higher and higher velocities. Seismic waves field are recorded by seismometer, the device already we have seen, hydrophones in water, or accelerometers. There are several devices. Earthquake creates distinct type of waves with different velocities. When reaching seismic observatories, these different travel times help to locate the hypocenters. So where this actual earthquake has been occurred, it can be predicted on the basis of the study of different waves that have been recorded at this particular centers where such type of devices are there. So that study is to be done. The refraction and reflection of seismic waves are used to find the structure of the interior earth. So where these waves are being reflected or reflected, based upon that interior structure of the earth also can be studied. That is one nice application of this. Now this is how this particular one diagram that shows you there is a focus. So this is a focus where actually this type of earthquake has been generated, or large amount of energy has been generated. So these are seen to be two different parts of the landmass. That is there is shown to be a fault. Upper landmass is coming down and lower landmass is coming up, and therefore such type of fault has been generated. In between there is some focus where this type of large amount of energy is generated, and this general energy generated travels in the form of waves, or the seismic waves radiate from the focus of an earthquake. And above this, so this is the focus shown in the diagram, this is where this particular fault occurs or this energy generated. This wave travels in the all direction as shown by this, and where exactly above this particular focus, this is the point which is called as epicenter. Once this energy reaches as this epicenter, this energy travels in this direction also too, and that causes the secondary and tertiary waves in case of this type of seismic waves or this earthquake. So this picture makes you clear. So whenever such type of thing is there, so whenever such type of earthquake occurs, there is somewhere a focus inside this earth crust, and upper to that, exactly above this particular focus on the earth surface, the point which is called as epicenter, where maximum destruction is seen or observed, because this is the minimum distance between that focus and that particular earth crust, and this particular waves travel in all directions. That is shown in this particular case by the wave fronts. Then based upon this, we can go for study of the different types of seismic waves. What are the seismic waves? Seismic waves are broadly divided in two groups. One is called as body waves, and second is called as surface waves. So body waves are also divided into different categories based upon this. Body waves travel through interior of the earth. Okay, so through the interior of the earth, from focus to epicenter or other parts of the earth, that is called as body waves that travel through the interior of the earth along the path controlled by material properties like density and modulus of other elasticity modulus. Body waves are further divided into two parts. So how? Depending upon their type, so vibrations of the material medium in between. So first type is called as primary waves, or that is called as P waves. So primary waves are compressional, so these are longitudinal waves that are longitudinal in nature, and P waves are pressure waves that are travel faster than any other waves through the earth, and that's why these waves can travel through any type of material including fluid, and can travel faster than the secondary waves or S waves. So these are the waves that reach for the first time whenever such type of fault occurs or such destruction occurs below this particular earth crust. So whatever energy generated in the form of earthquakes or this type of seismic waves, this primary waves brings this energy to the surface, and this is called as primary or P waves, which are necessarily an longitudinal type of waves or compressional waves, and they cause a lot of destructions. So in air, these waves take form of the sound waves. So whenever this wave reaches in air, these body waves becomes a sound waves, hence they travel at the speed of the sound. So whatever wave generated, whenever it comes to this surface of the earth, it becomes a sound wave that produces a large noise. So that is first type of waves called as primary waves. Second thing is called as secondary waves or S waves, are shear waves. Shear means, now in this case, these material medium particles who oscillate in the direction perpendicular to the direction of the propagation of waves. So these are the shear waves that are transverse in nature. So primary waves are longitudinal, secondary waves are of the transverse nature. S waves arrived at seismograph station after faster moving P waves. So P waves come first and then S waves comes there and displaces the ground perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. So whenever if this type of I'll draw this diagram here, this is earth surface and this is building standing here. When this primary waves comes, this particular building oscillates like this, so up and down, and when this secondary wave comes, in this case this particular building may oscillates like this. So primary wave comes first, that causes first shock, and this secondary waves may oscillate this type of buildings as shown by this particular diagram there. So S waves are arrive at seismograph station after faster moving P waves and displace the ground perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. Since fluid do not support the shears or stress, so S waves cannot found in fluid. So these are only observed on the earth surface. Second type of waves, these are called as surface waves. So first we have been body waves, which are actually traveling through the body of the earth. Now whatever waves which are generated at the epicenter, these waves travel through the surface, and that's why these are called as surface waves. Seismic surface waves are travel through along the surface of the earth. They are travel more slowly than seismic body waves. So they do travel more slowly than this seismic body waves. Their velocity is little less as compared to these body waves. In large earthquakes, surface waves can have an amplitude of several centimeters, and these are also called as Rayleigh's waves. These waves are also sometimes very destructive, that causes a lot of problem or destruction on the surface of earth, and that waves are responsible, called as surface waves. So these are the certain examples or diagram shows main types of seismic waves. See the P waves or the primary waves. So this is what the expansion and compression are observed, and this is what undisturbed medium shown here, and this particular compressions and these expansions that goes ahead and ahead in this direction, so that forms a P wave. Then this is the S wave where here this is the direction of propagation shown by arrow. The material medium particle oscillates this way. Here material medium particle oscillate this way, and that's why this is a longitudinal in nature. These S waves are the transverse wave in nature. They are traveling as shown by here. Then there is one more wave that is called as low wave. You can see here this particular wave, this type of material medium particles oscillates again in the perpendicular direction, but not here. In this case it is shown to be something different. These rocks are supposed to get different directions, motion in the different directions, and such waves are called as low waves. Whereas these are the waves which are shown in the last diagram, that is called as Rayleigh's waves. Here it can be seen that these material medium particles undergo such type of motion where energy is only transferred from one location to another location, and this material or the body or that particular objects remain at that locations. So these are basically a surface waves. That waves travel along the surface of the earth, and that causes a lot of destruction, as we have already seen. So in this concern we come across some mechanics or mechanism for measurement of such type of earthquakes, and for that we have to introduce or will be introduced to a one scale which is called as a magnitude scale of the earthquake, Richter scale. Some of you might have already heard about this. The magnitude of an earthquake is given by its open-ended logarithmic scale of magnitude, often referred as a Richter scale or Richter scale. Scientists in his honor, this particular scale has been named. Shocks smaller than the magnitude of 2.5 are usually not felt, and those with magnitude 7 causes serious damages over the large areas. See here, Richter scale 1 and Richter scale 2. Okay, this is 1 and this 2. Intensity wise, this is 10 times bigger as compared to this state one. Okay, so the intensity here it is 10. So if it intensity is I here intensity is this 10I. So that's how this scale goes on increasing. So earthquake of 7 Richter scale, magnitude 7 Richter scale, that is found to be much larger as compared to earthquake of the Richter scale 1 magnitude. So that's how this, since it's a logarithmic scale, this scale increases very abruptly, very fast, and that's why the intensity of the earthquake goes on increasing very fast as we go for higher and higher magnitude. So that's what Richter scale is called. The Richter magnitude of earthquake is determined from the log of the amplitude of waves recorded by the seismograph. So amplitude of the wave is to be recorded and log of that is to be taken. The adjustments are included for the vibration in the distance between the various seismographs and the epicenter of the earthquake. That is a technical part here. On Richter scale, magnitude is commonly expressed in whole number and decibel number, 2.5, 3.6, etc. Fractions are usually not given. Richter scale is not commonly used anymore except small earthquakes recorded locally. Some new scale has been developed by the scientists or the geologists. So seismic hazard map. Now in this concern, we have to understand there are certain regions that's called as seismic zones, 2, 3, 4, 5, different numbers are given. So how these zones are being planned by the scientists, and based upon that, a seismic hazard is the probability that an earthquake will occur in a given geographic area within a given window of time. So within 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, what is the possibility at a particular location that such type of earthquake will occur, and with ground motion intensity exceeding the given threshold. With a hazard thus estimated, risk can be assessed and included in such areas as building codes for standard buildings. Depending upon in which area you are designing, constructing this building, you have to follow certain norms which are given by the geologists. So designing larger buildings and infrastructure projects, land use planning and determining insurance rates, etc. These zones or the seismic zones are very, very important in this concern. So this code assigns 4 levels of seismicity for dwellers. Dwellers means the persons or the communities which are using that particular land area in India in terms of zone factors. In other words, the earthquake zoning map in India divides India into 4 seismic zones: zone 2, zone 3, zone 4 and zone 5. So 5 is the most probable zone, zone 2 is the least probable earthquake probable zone accordingly. According to the present zoning map, zone 5 expected the highest level of seismicity, whereas zone 2 is associated with the lowest level of seismicity. In concern of India, we are going to look these such type of areas. Indian subcontinent has a history of devastating earthquakes. So in India, maybe in the history, several such type of earthquakes have been observed, and every time lakhs of people, some earthquakes which have happened in history, it has been observed that lakhs of people, 2 lakhs of people, some million people, they lost their lives because of this type of heavy or devastating earthquake. So India has a great history of devastation. Now this is what in map here. So this, okay, dark brown, this part is shown to be the northeast India, some parts of Himalaya, Himachal and some part of Kashmir, and this particular region, Kutch region. This particular region comes in the zone 4. That is what the maximum probable earthquakes are possible in this particular region, which is called as zone 4. Then zone 3, this area is basically Himalayan and this Kashmir region, as well as part adjoining this Kutch area and some parts in the Maharashtra, that is Koyna region. These particular parts do come under this zone, which is called as zone 3. Most of the part of India comes under this zone 3, which is shown by the yellow color, and the remaining part where it is blue color, that is shown to be zone 1. So zone 1 is the area there is a least possibility of such type of earthquakes, whereas zone 4 is the area where there is a maximum possibility of this earthquake. And in history also we might have observed that in Assam, in Tripura, and in the north, that is Uttarakhand, in Kashmir, in Punjab, in Kutch, several times such type of earthquakes we have observed. So Nepal is also one of the region, but that is not our part of our country. So where such type of earthquakes usually after 3, 4, 5, 10 years such type of earthquakes occur, and these regions comes under these particular areas. And now depending upon these regions or the zones, different types of permissions or the building permissions, etc., that designing, etc., depends upon that. As I said, insurance rates also depend upon that, and all this. That means if you are constructing a building in zone 4 area, the premium you are supposed to pay for that particular building may be more as compared to in zone 2 or zone 1, etc. So these different facts are there. Now there are several applications of this seismology. What are these applications? First one, seismology has great importance in scientific field. Though it has a destructive outcome, it has several applications. Now interesting one. First one, predictions of places of occurrence of earthquake. So study of seismology tells you which are the probable areas where such type of earthquakes may occur or tsunamis may occur. Accordingly, we have to take precautions while going for designing structures, buildings, and so many things. So designing and construction of earthquake proof structures is the basic necessity, and that one can understood on the basis of the study of the seismology. If we can use this for investigation of internal structure of earth. So just studying these different types of seismic waves, their properties, their other types of impacts, we can conclude something about the internal structure of the earth. So exactly below Pune region, what are the different types of rocks or layers that can be investigated using the earthquake if it is happens there. Seismic prospecting of petroleum and minerals. Sometimes depending upon the speeds of the different types of earthquake waves that are observed, if this type of waves are coming through petroleum and minerals or some other types of liquid materials, there may be some chances that these type of things may be observed there, and investigation of these things are also possible there. So these are the important applications of this seismology. Apart from that, there are several other applications, and as I said, this is one part which is also directly related to the wave motion. So study of in the arena of study of wave motion, earthquake waves plays a very important role. So this is actually applied thing. That means we are applying our knowledge of waves to study the different types of seismic waves and problems caused by that. And this is one very nice application of physics in the field of that is called as seismology. So this is one very upcoming branch which is again having lot much potential to study. So lot many research centers are working there. People are modeling different types of models of the earth crust and earth structure, and different types of remedies are also being suggested. So that is one of the very important, that may become one of the very important current career in the future, that is called as seismology. So here we have finished the second part of our discussion, that is the wave motion part 2. In the part 3, as I said earlier, we are going to discuss another types of wave, interesting type of waves, that is gravitational wave. So thank you for being with me for this particular session. Thank you once again.